important. Managers who receive feedback show about 9% more profit and have teams with over 12% greater productivity than groups without regular feedback. However, we see a fine line when a quarter of workers consider leaving their jobs if they receive harsh feedback. But at the same time, only a quarter even strongly agree that the feedback they're getting right now helps them do better work in the first place. What we need to hit is the 92% of employees that champion even negative feedback, if delivered appropriately, is effective at improving performance. Confucius once said in the 500 BCs, life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. This video will be all about unwinding those complications to give you the skills to provide constructive feedback, more informed and in a variety of situations, written, verbal, and to every relation from employees to peers. My name is Avika Patel, and I am a student at Stanford University studying computer science and management science. I am also the Chief Creative Officer of Reinvented magazine. With years of experience giving and receiving feedback for tech projects, business interactions, and design reviews, I bring my knowledge to this bite-sized video of how to give constructive feedback. Giving feedback can be considered a balance between criticism and support. The biggest mistake people often make is either being so strong and direct that the other person begins to get defensive, and you find yourself in a mini argument, or too kind and soft so much that the original critique goes over the receiver's head. For a bad example, you work so slow and take longer than any of the other employees. If you don't hurry up in 6 months, we'll fire you. This is leading by fear, and when many people consider moving away from you, your project, or company. The opposite spectrum is saying, you have amazing quality work with immaculate detail. Yes, you could work faster many of the time, but I love the quality and your products are always amazing. For this, even though you sandwich a critique between the positives, our brains are wired to only recall the positive message and think all is dandy with no improvements to come in the future. The goal of this video is to give you an all-encompassing 7-step formula so that you can give effective feedback, where the receiver is both likely to accept and also implement the feedback. So let's jump right in. Step 1 is realizing who your audience is. Before you even say anything, gauge the personality and way of feedback your receiver would appreciate. Are they sensitive to wording and body language? Do they prefer direct, time-efficient conversations? Or would they rather be guided in the direction with questions that they can answer themselves to gradually realize the problem? This answer can be found 2 ways. First, if you are in a team that regularly works together, you can have an activity where each person shares about themselves and the way they appreciate feedback. This would be even before a situation arises that needs a feedback conversation. But asking ahead of time shows you care and are willing to make the best environment for your group to improve. When asking, though, it is important to not use strongly connotated words. For example, do not say, "Do you like your feedback sugar-coated or straight to the point?" This is something that we hear a lot, but sugar-coated is a word with a negative connotation. That makes it so that even if the member is sensitive, they don't feel like asking to be softer since it makes them look weak. If a situation doesn't permit asking these questions ahead of time, make an educated guess based off of your interactions so far. The content is still the same regardless, so no worries which approach you take. Step 2 is setting up the receiver for feedback. This could be either a regular feedback round, so the receiver already knows it will be critiqued, or you can ask a question like, "Awesome work in the last meeting. I have some ideas on how we can improve things for the next one. Do you have 5 minutes to talk?" This lets the person know that feedback is coming, making them receptive rather than defensive. Also, notice the word choice of we, how we can improve things. You always want to make sure that you as the giver of feedback and the receiver of feedback are the same team, and that you're not attacking them as an outsider. Step 3, mention a positive. Highlight something that they're doing phenomenal. This just continues the friendly tone and encourages the recipient to improve some of the other things mentioned later. It also lets them know that they're appreciated, and the time they spent thus far wasn't a waste if they just hear the negatives, which can be a moral depressor. An example is, wow, you spoke professionally at the last client meeting, and I'm so excited for the project and how you introduced so many of our employees in new roles. Step 4 is the data point, your way of hitting the second mark and being direct after just doing the appreciation. The data point doesn't mean statistics, but really anything experienced, witnessed, and numbers can be included. Let's say, continuing with the meeting example, the person you are giving feedback to forgot their materials at their desk, so had to go back to get them before the meeting. Instead of saying, our customers were annoyed at the delay of the start, you should be more responsible. Say, I noticed you arrived at the meeting just on time, but forgot your materials, so we had to start 10 minutes late. Notice there are only objective words now, not assuming the clients were annoyed, but just plainly stating what happened. Step 5, adding how the situation impacted you. This doesn't always happen, especially in cases where feedback was already supposed to occur, but if the situation permits, it's a great addition. In the example we have right now, that would be saying, since we ended late as a result, I had to push back our investor interview and miss the prep time in between. Step 6 is a call to action as a question. For example, you could say, next time, would it be possible to arrive 10 minutes before the meeting and perhaps do some work while waiting in the conference room? Asking a question is important since it gives the receiver a chance to improve themselves, make their own decisions, and have autonomy to not make the relationship compliant. For design and product, this question is especially important since you don't have the artistic or technical thought process behind what you are giving feedback to. Asking a question leaves room for them to heed the advice, but also tweak a bit to fit their own specifications. Plus, it's not effective for one person, us as the feedback givers, to make any definite decision. Lastly is step 7, offering help and next steps with a simple positive statement. Great, let me know if there's ever anything I can do to help. Looking forward to our next meeting this week. Letting them know you're available as a resource makes it sure that they understood some of the parts, but let's say they have questions. Opening up the opportunity to talk to you makes it so that they can always come to ask and think of another solution. And that's it, you're done. Let's quickly put it together for review. Awesome work in the last meeting. I have some ideas on how we can improve for the next time. Do you have 5 minutes to talk? First of all, wow, you spoke so professionally, and I'm excited for the project and how you introduced so many of our employees in new roles. I noticed that you arrived at the meeting just on time though, but forgot your materials, so we had to start 10 minutes late. Since we ended late as a result, I had to push back our investor interview and miss my prep time in between. Next time, do you think it would be possible to arrive 10 minutes before each meeting and perhaps do some work while waiting in the conference room? Great, let me know if there's ever anything I can do to help. Looking forward to our next meeting on Thursday. And that's it. These steps can be used anywhere, anytime, verbally, written, and in context of colleagues, peers, or employees. This method is both appreciative, respectful, but also being clear and direct. Remember to be authentic with your compliments and use objective data points. If you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at the information here.